But let's talk more history. Can we go there now? Judy, come on up. Give it up for Judy. Judy Wiley. She's going to give us a take on that picture of that first couple years.
Okay. You know, to have the opportunity to see God move in mighty ways, up close and personal, is amazing. And that's what I think of when I think of the beginnings of Young Life. In 1980, John and Cindy Oakman put an announcement in the bulletin at St. John's Church, looking for folks who might be interested in getting Young Life started at Washington Township High School. 3 couples formed that first committee: the Stores, the Puffers, and the Oakmans. They got in touch with some Young Life folks, got some direction, and began to pray. They cut up yearbook pictures and prayed for kids by name. They prayed for more people to come on board to help get the information out to the community, to do information nights, to go to the churches and talk about Young Life, which didn't even exist. We were trying to pass the word about something that we couldn't even really show people. Two more couples signed up. My husband Bill and myself were one of those, and we continued to pray. We prayed for wisdom for ourselves, and especially for our regional director at that point, who, after walking the halls of Washington Township High School, announced that Young Life just wouldn't work here. We prayed for the required financial support, which in 1982 was we had to raise half of a year's budget, which was $10,000, which doesn't seem like much right now when we look at this budget, but to us it was huge. And we prayed for a staff person, just the right one, to begin this new work. Well, God heard the prayers of this group, including the 2 of us. Bill and I were new Christians. We had only known Christ a year or 2, and we had no idea of the power that's available to us when we pray. God provided the money, the financial support we needed to make that $10,000. And when we were coming up short, Howard Gifford at St. John's said, "Whatever you need, St. John's will make up the difference." We hired Mike Terranova in June 1982, and in August we packed him off to Saranac with, can't remember, 12 or 15 church kids that John Oakman kind of had corralled. We put them on a bus and off they went. Mike had only been working for us for 1 month. He didn't even have a place to live. He was in the Puffer's basement, and we're shipping him off to Saranac with kids, our very first camp trip. A group of us went to adult camp that Labor Day weekend, and in October we had our first fundraising banquet right here at Aletto's in the little room that's back over here somewhere. It was an awesome time. God was just going before us, and we were just following him, and Bill and I were blown away. Now, we had 5 couples on committee in 1982, and the oldest child among us was ours, our daughter Shawn. She was 11. What were we thinking? This is a teenage ministry, and we all had little kids. But it didn't matter what we were thinking. It was God's plan that mattered, and what an impact his plan would have. The first couple of years, clubs were fairly small. They met in people's basements or family rooms or garages. Since kids couldn't come to club until they were in high school, our children had to wait on the sidelines, watching for their turn to come. Well, when Shawn came to her turn came for her first club, she was a freshman in high school. It was February of 1986, and the club was going to be at our house. Excitement was high. She was saying, "I think there's a lot of kids going to come, Mom." We had over 150 teenagers at that club. They came in and they piled their coats on our kitchen table, and it reached to the ceiling practically. 3 years later, our son's first club, his freshman year, at our house again. This time we had over 160 kids in our house. We have a little house. We moved all the furniture out. All the living room, dining room, family room furniture all went out onto the deck, and it was amazing. Weeks later, I was still cleaning Jell-O off of the dining room walls from, one of Mike Terranova's skits. It was dynamic. And in the midst of that, kids met Christ. They met him at camp, they met him at club, they met him after club, they met him in the parking lot at Burger King. We saw whole families changed, including our own. Remember, I mentioned how we cut up pictures in the yearbooks. One of the pictures of a kid that we prayed for was a young man named Tony Leone. Tony, his story is another whole time to hear, but he became a dynamic Young Life leader in Washington Township. And he led the young man who would someday be my son-in-law to Jesus. To take it another step, in 1992, the young woman who would become my daughter-in-law prayed with her Young Life leader following the last club of her senior year in high school and gave her life to Jesus. And neither one of them has ever turned back. God's been faithful. He knew all along where this was going to go. It was never about us. It was never about John and Cindy. Or it was not because of us. We all knew that we were following God. And he just led us along the way. He just blessed us by allowing us to come along for the ride. And it's been great.